Well, hello and welcome to Over the Vest Nurseries. This is our propagation department, the place where many of our young plants start out, the place where we take our cuttings. Now I'm answering a question sent in by Katie to this channel. She said she'd watched the video that we made of this plant, Eupatorium chocolate, or as the botanists now call it, Ageratina chocolate. They've renamed it. Anyway, she said she really loved the plant, but she wondered how it would be possible to take cuttings. Well, here in our department, we take millions of cuttings. Of course, we're using the latest state-of-the-art facilities, technology here in our computer-controlled greenhouse. But you know what? The principle of taking cuttings is pretty much the same. So let me show you how you can have a go at rooting some of this lovely perennial. Now you can pretty much do this at any point during the growing season. That said, I find the best time is the early part of midsummer, because you want to have young, strong, healthy, vigorous growth that's nice and sturdy and yet not too woody, if you know what I mean. Do it too early in the season and the growth might be too soft and would wilt to you too fast. On the other hand, if you leave it till later on in the season, there may not be enough time for your cuttings to be able to root and establish before the onset of cold weather. So now in early summer, look over your plants and then with a sharp pair of pruners, just go in and snip off a good, strong, healthy shoot like this. Now here's one, as you see, that's about 4 to 5 inches long. Then just remove the lower leaves and any shoots that are down there, leaving you a cutting that's about 4 inches or so long. And then with a sharp pair of pruners or a knife, just snip it off beneath an internode. That's where the nodes are on the stem. And then dip your cutting in some rooting hormone. Now this is a commercial product that we have here, but if you speak to your local garden center, they'll probably be able to sell you some rooting powder, and that works just as well. Then with a dibber, or in my case here a marker pen, just go in and make a little hole in your compost. Now the compost I like to use is a mixture of half peat and half sand. That means that you get good drainage for the cuttings to be able to drain away, and yet with the peat in there it helps to keep them nice and moist so that they're able to establish roots very quickly. In a pot this size you can usually get about 4 or 5 cuttings, and therefore just pop them in like so around the perimeter of the pot. Means that you'll be able to space them out and yet get a nice quantity in there. So there they are, all in, and now it's a matter of just going through with your watering can and giving them a good water. Just fill that right up to the top of the pot, get plenty of moisture in there and let it soak down. Now instead of using all the technology of automatic mist systems that we have here in the greenhouse, instead what I like to do is to use a plastic bag, and with that what we do is we make a little tent that goes over the tops of the plants, so that that is the stuff that's going to create a nice humid atmosphere inside the plastic here, so that the cuttings will continue to be exposed to the sunlight, but at the same time be held inside this humid tent while they quickly put on roots. Then take the pot and put it somewhere where you're going to have some subdued sunlight. Not direct sunlight, that's really going to be too intense. Somewhere where it's going to get light so that the plants can continue to grow inside this little humid tent, and in about 4 or 5 weeks time you should start to see some young growth starting to appear on the tips of your cuttings. Now I go occasionally through and shake the bag just to shake off any condensation that's in there, and that's how you'll be able to have your cuttings rooted of perennial. Then in early autumn, when your cuttings are nicely rooted and beginning to grow away, you can take the plastic bag off, continue to water your plants, and then keep them in a frost-free place during the rest of the autumn and winter time. Keep them moist but not wet, and in springtime you should start to see lots of young fresh growth beginning to appear above the soil level. At that point you can take them, put them into a larger pot, establish them like so, and then you'll have lots of beautiful little perennials for you to be able to grow and enjoy in your garden. This is David Wilson. Enjoy your gardening. It's good for us, and it's very good for our environment too.